This is TikToker El Pirata de Culiacan, months before he was brutally executed by Mexico's deadliest cartel, the CJNG.
Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, CJNG, is the single criminal organization.
But what business did a 17-year-old social media star have with the cartel? And why did El Mencho allegedly order his assassination in broad daylight? In this video, we will explore the hidden details of this disturbing case, as well as other times TikTokers and social media celebrities messed with the wrong cartel. Number 5. Rodulfo Marquez. Back in 2022, this Mexican TikToker by the name of Rodulfo Marquez found himself in hot water after posting this viral video. In the video, Marquez could be seen blocking off the Guadalajara bridge with expensive luxury cars. This audacious video would eventually land him in a face-off with one of Mexico's most dangerous cartels. But who exactly was Rodulfo Marquez? And how did he get on the nerves of Mexico's most ruthless gang? Rodulfo Marquez, who went by Fofo or Millionaire Boy on Instagram and TikTok, is a social media influencer who gained fame by posting his luxurious lifestyle online. His Instagram account currently has over 4 million followers, while his TikTok boasts over 1.3 million followers. His content majorly revolves around luxury cars, beautiful women, expensive clothes, watches, and endless partying, leaving many of his fans wondering how he got his money. In reality, though, the secret of his flamboyant lifestyle can be traced to his father, who's one of the owners of the Total gas station chain in Mexico, as well as his grandfather, a highly successful shoemaker who made shoes for some legendary important people. With more money in the bank than he knew what to do with, Fofo spent a lot of that dough on some of the most expensive cars on the market, and one day the self-proclaimed King of Mexico decided to take some of those cars and block off the Motit Moore bridge in Guadalajara, one of Mexico's biggest cities. As it is with most social media stars, Rodulfo Marquez was willing to do anything for views, but this genius idea turned out to be a death trap. In the TikTok video, Fofo could be seen with a couple of his friends as they filmed the heavy traffic that was building behind them, while mocking those affected by their acts of foolishness. The young influencers even initially planned to do a TikTok dance right in the middle of the blocked highway, while boasting about his wealth and power, saying, "We have closed it for ourselves. This is what I want to demonstrate, what money and power can do here in Mexico." The video went viral almost instantly, gaining millions of views. At first, Fofo thought this was a good thing. After all, the virality was exactly why he planned the whole thing. However, the video ended up attracting the kind of negative attention he never bargained for. Everyone from fellow Mexican TikTok stars to politicians was outraged at the audacity of the young star, and they quickly called him out. The video was removed, and the governor of Jalisco also issued a statement condemning the act. He was even slammed with hours of community service, but those were minimal compared to the punishment she was about to receive. The whole case took a new turn when this message showed up on Facebook, apparently from the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also known as the CJNG. It read, "Hello to all the people of Guadalajara. We are the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. As many know or are aware, the influencer or scum called Rodulfo Marquez dared to close the circulation of the Motit Moore bridge, which is an act that we do not tolerate. Here in Jalisco, Mr. Mencho rules. If we see you again in Guadalajara, we are going to kidnap you, and then not even all your money that you have is going to help you." As soon as this message came out, Fofo started panicking. In his attempt to make a viral video, he has pissed off one of Mexico's most brutal criminal organizations, headed by the brutal El Mencho, who we'll get into more details about later in this video. With panic in his eyes and fear in his heart, Fofo ran to his father's house in Jalisco for protection, however, considering he was up against a gang that had terrorized the Mexican police and even the military for years. It seemed like a losing battle. Regardless, Fofo's family hired armed guards to surround the perimeter at all times. He was advised to stay away from the windows to avoid getting sniped, and he even put out an apology video where he appeared to be genuinely scared for his life. Everyone thought this would be the end of the line for Rodulfo Marquez, as he disappeared totally from social media. However, after a few months passed and nothing happened, the social media star returned to his regular lifestyle, posting himself at parties and showing off his lavish lifestyle. While many fans were happy that Fofo wasn't hurt, some began to wonder whether the message was actually real to begin with, and others claimed Fofo's influential family must have reached out to El Mencho's cartel and pleaded for clemency. Whatever the truth is, the silver lining was that Fofo made it out alive. However, this next influencer wasn't so lucky. Number 4. Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales. December 18, 2017. A 17-year-old social media star walks into a bar in Zapopan, Jalisco with a couple of friends. Just a while later, some armed men walked right into that bar and straight to the young man's table. They opened fire and ended his life instantly. This young man was Juan Luis Lagunas Rosales, also known as El Pirata de Culiacan, a social media star who got himself on the wrong side of the cartel and paid dearly for it. Rosales was born in Novato, Sinaloa, about a 90-minute drive to the hometown of the notorious cartel leader Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. His upbringing was tough, as his parents weren't exactly wealthy, and they had to struggle just to feed. When he turned 15, Rosales decided to quit school and move in with his grandmother in Culiacan, the capital of Sinaloa. It was at this point that his life took a very drastic turn. Rosales turned to the bottle, and he started drinking heavily. He would spend the whole drinking all kinds of liquor, even though he underage and wasn't legally allowed to drink alcohol. It became a lifestyle, and then he also started posting some of his drunken stunts online. Not surprisingly, a lot of people found him funny. As he posted more videos, he got more followers, which only encouraged him to post even more videos of him getting blackout drunk. In his glory days, Rosales was able to amass over 200,000 followers on Instagram, 1 million followers on Facebook, and over 34,000 on Twitter. He became extremely popular even in the neighborhood, as he continued to maintain a lifestyle of partying, drinking, and living on the edge. One day, he made the greatest mistake of his life by crossing one of Mexico's most dangerous drug lords, Nemesi Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. El Mencho was feared by everyone, due to the level of brutality he is capable of. His story is that of a good cop gone bad, which has been seen often in Mexico's justice system. Very often in Mexico, hard-working police officers suddenly transform into the very evil they were supposed to fight. One of those men was El Mencho, an accomplished state policeman who switched to the other side, becoming the leader of the Jalisco Nueva Generación, also known as the CJang. It was around 2009 and 2010 when this armed group first emerged. Its founding members broke away from other gangs like the Milenio, the Sinaloa, the Knights Templar, and Los Zetas to form one of Mexico's most sophisticated and powerful armed groups. They operate with military-level precision, and their arsenal can rival that of small countries. We're talking heavy artillery, armed vehicles, grenade launchers, and even drones. Since they came out, the CJang has been tied to several brutal mass murders in Jalisco and beyond, becoming one of Mexico's deadliest cartels. In 2011, members of the group dumped 35 tortured bodies into the streets of Veracruz, a port city sitting on the Gulf of Mexico, in one of the most haunting scenes Mexico has ever seen. Their leader, El Mencho, has been declared wanted by the DEA, with a $10 million bounty on his head, due to his numerous brutal crimes. As the drug war in Mexico rages on, El Mencho remains at the forefront of it all, and he's regarded as one of the most merciless cartel boss. So, when Rosales decided to make a video insulting El Mencho, people knew he must have had a death wish. No one really knows what inspired him, or why he decided to risk his life for likes and clicks. But one day, the social media star posted a video where he said, "El Mencho a mí me pela la verga," which meant, "El Mencho peel my CK*. It was like sticking a middle finger in the face of the most dangerous man around without any provocation whatsoever. He also started posting pictures of himself with firearms, so many began to assume he had become affiliated with a criminal gang. Many of his friends instantly got scared for his safety, but he didn't even seem fazed by the idea that he could get taken out anytime soon. According to those who knew and worked with El Mencho, he was a man you didn't want to mess with, who could execute a whole family just because of a rumor. This is a man who brutally murders journalists for talking about him, So why exactly did Rosales in his drunken state decide to insult such a dangerous man? No one really knows. After the video went viral, Rosales remained active on social media, and on the day he would eventually be taken out, he was at the bar Mentados Cantaros. Suddenly, either 4 or 5 heavily armed men pulled into the club in a black truck. They walked in and shot a total of 15 bullets, ending Rosales' life instantly and injuring the club manager. Earlier before his death, the young celebrity was actually in the process of transforming himself. He was cleaning up his acts, stepping into the music world, and even got a record label deal. Sadly, though, a single mistake made under the influence sent him into an early grave. But if you thought El Pirata's story was chilling, wait till you see what comes next. Number 3. Pamela Montenegro del Real. When Leslie Ann Pamela started making social media content, she was Pamela Montenegro, a bubbly character who gave beauty and makeup tips to her viewers. She quickly gained a massive audience online, and with that growth came the introduction of a new character everyone came to know as Nana Pelucas. This was Pamela's alternate version, who wore an afro wig and oversized glasses. The content was initially focused on the well-worn interview style, where Pelucas would walk into grocery stores and malls, shoving a microphone in people's faces and asking them trivia questions to see their reactions. This new kind of content exposed Pamela to a new audience, and her fan base grew even larger and larger. But soon, the satirical Nana Pelucas moved on to other serious topics, which was how she eventually got in trouble with the cartel. Even though she still donned her over-the-top costume, she began calling out corrupt politicians and exposing their dirty linen in public. On her YouTube channel El Cilion, Pelucas would host a news show where she talked about the situation in her home country of Mexico, and especially in the city of Acapulco where she lived. Everybody knows how dangerous Acapulco and the rest of the Guerrero region is. It's like a real-life nightmare for those who live here. Murder is the order of the day, and crimes go unpunished here. But it wasn't always so. Once upon a time, the Guerrero region, and especially Acapulco, was a thriving tourist hotspot, where Hollywood royalties came to spend their free time. At the time, it was called the Pearl of the Pacific, and it lived to its name. But that was a long time ago. Now, Acapulco is a den of thieves and drug dealers who are currently fighting a deadly turf war over territories. At least over 20 different gangs are currently embroiled in this deadly conflict, including El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel and the independent cartel of Acapulco. Each group has lost valuable men as they vie for control of nearby poppy fields, which were feeding the drug trade. Once a tourist town, Acapulco has descended into chaos and is now regarded among the most violent places in the world, with the second highest murder rate in Mexico. It was in this backdrop that our heroine Leslie Ann Pamela established herself as a force of truth. Although her words were veiled behind a humorous layer, and she often delivered serious messages with a comedic undertone, she made sure her message was well passed every time. After her news report started gaining ground on YouTube, she decided to bring on some corrupt politicians for a deep interrogation in the full view of the world. Quite a number of Mexican leaders, who were neck-deep in the illicit activities prevalent in the country, appeared on that show, and Nana Pelucas made sure no stone was left unturned. At this point, she was already gaining the attention of some people in the underworld, and she was making more enemies than friends. However, the story took a dark turn the moment she began exposing the secret dealings of the cartels operating in Acapulco and Guerrero at large. This gave her a pretty bad reputation in the underworld, and soon she was on the hit list. They accused her of working as a government informant, masquerading as a social media celebrity while doing detective work. She was hiding in plain sight, and for a while it seemed that her voice would never be silenced. The gangs also suspected she was working for a rival gang, and all her activities were sponsored slanders. Even more disturbing was the fact that she seemed to possess privileged information about the activities of the cartel, their business deals, the murderous operations. Everything the cartel thought was buried and forgotten. This made her a solid target for the brutal gangs, who didn't want to risk getting exposed in the full view of the whole world. So they started by sending her death threats, describing in gory details what they would do to her. But she remained resolute and never missed her weekly uploads. Unfortunately, the cartel eventually caught up to her. It was on February 6, 2018, when two armed men walked into Pamela's restaurant in Todos Santos and opened fire. By the time the smoke cleared, the brave influencer was left in a pool of blood, and the men simply disappeared. Pamela's death was a huge blow to the entire community, but her killers didn't remain free forever. Her death triggered a massive response from the police and the military, and because of her, many of the cartels operating in the area were weakened. 2 years after she died in 2020, prosecutors in South Mexico announced that they had apprehended the alleged cartel boss responsible for Pamela's murder. His name is Edgar Saul, and he was one of the most powerful members of the independent cartel of Acapulco. However, the details of the case have become shrouded in mystery over time, so it's hard to tell whether justice was eventually served or the cartel boss secretly got off the hook. Number 2. Motit Moore. May 21, 2019. 27-year-old social media celebrity named Motit Moore was sitting in a photocopy shop in the Najafgarh area of Delhi, India, scrolling through his phone, when suddenly, 3 young men barged in, wearing helmets. They pulled out their guns, pointed at Moore, and said, "Let's make you a TikTok star." With those chilling words, the boys started firing sporadically, emptying all their bullets into his body. Moore was left unrecognizable as even his teeth were shattered by the constant rain of bullets. But how did he get here? Who did Motit Moore piss off to deserve such a cruel punishment? And why did his killers utter those chilling final words? To understand this case, let's go back to the very beginning. Motit Moore was a TikTok celebrity with over 500,000 followers and 5.9 million likes. However, the strangest part was that he had only been on the platform for 8 months, and no one could explain how he experienced such rapid growth. But by taking a look at his kind of content, we might get a clue as to why so many people loved him. Most of his videos portrayed him as a Haryanvi bad boy with a good heart, who was in touch with his masculinity, but didn't shy away from showing emotions. As soon as Moore realized his viewers loved this kind of content, he became more obsessed with making the best video possible to please his adoring fans. His goal was to make the next video more entertaining and more emotional than the last. However, some of his skits also look staged sometimes, like in one skit when he got out of his car to offer a homeless man his expensive shoes. He also loved to show off his rough and rugged persona, like in one video where he boasted that he could break the 206 bones in the human body and the 1,670 laws in the Indian Constitution. He sang, he jokes, he danced, and he never forgot to show off his gym-built body, all to get his people to watch. Over time, he built a huge fan base in India, and some even recognized him on the streets. Everywhere he went, people asked him for selfies, and many even dreamed of being in one of his videos. He would have probably stayed at the top for as long as he wanted if he hadn't made this one huge mistake. You see, even though Moore seemed like a cool dude online, the kind of company he kept wasn't so clean. According to the investigative officer who worked on his case, he used to hang out with criminals, and in a place like Delhi, where gang clashes and turf wars weren't uncommon, associating with the gangs whether as a member or not was more or less a death wish. The TikTok star set himself up for even more drama when he helped a friend invest 3 million Indian rupees, which is about $36,000 in a real estate property. Unfortunately, the friend mysteriously died, and his friends wanted the money back, but Moore wasn't having it. So in response, they hired a criminal gang to go after him and take him out. When Moore started receiving death threats from this hired gang, he decided to seek refuge in the arms of a rival gang, who he believed would offer him the protection he needed. This resulted in a lot of back and forth, which eventually ended with him lying dead in the photocopy shop with 17 bullet injuries. Although the police couldn't immediately confirm that a criminal gang was involved in the assassination, considering the details of the case, that fact was obvious from day one. Shortly after the incident, a juvenile involved in the killing was arrested, and it was this arrest that eventually led officers to the hideout of the other gangsters involved in the shooting. A year after Moore's murder, 27-year-old Vikas and 30-year-old Rohit Degar were captured while hiding out in a village in Punjab. The two shooters were suspected members of the infamous Kapil Sangwan, also known as the Nandu Gang. Prior to the arrest, the police had searched far and wide for the criminals, even going as far as putting a bounty on their heads. Thankfully, the killers were eventually brought to justice, and Moore's family finally had closure. Before we explore more chilling cases of people messing with the wrong cartels, here's our subscribers' pick for today. TikTok is one of the most popular social media sites in the world right now, with over 1 billion active users worldwide. While it has offered many talented individuals their much-needed rise to fame, a lot of these creators are willing to do anything just to gain 5 minutes of fame. Like this TikToker who was simply known as Illuminati 6, who made a video insulting the cartel drug leader El Mencho back in 2021 after a follower dared him to. Although he followed the post up with an apology, the creator was never heard from again, and his social media accounts simply vanished off the internet. While it isn't clear whether the cartel was responsible for Illuminati's disappearance, his case, just like the ones we explore about in this video, reminds us of the dangers of clout chasing and how a single video can alter the course of your life forever. Join the conversation by sharing your thoughts with us in the comments down below. Now let's get back to the video. Number 1. Azua Uresti. This is Azua Uresti, a prominent Mexican news anchor who found herself in trouble with the cartel after exposing their secrets on live TV. Although Uresti isn't exactly a TikToker, but a news anchor and television personality, her social media presence is quite strong, and the case was one of the most popular in Mexico back in 2021. It got so big that even the president of Mexico had to get involved. The genesis of the whole story takes us back to August 2020, when a group of armed, masked men from the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the same group responsible for 2 of the other cases we examined in this video, uploaded a video threatening to murder Uresti. In the blurry video made in the typical cartel style, the major frontman could be seen sitting behind a desk as he delivered a prepared statement supposedly written by the cartel leader, El Mencho. The masked cartel member went after Milenio Television, one of the most popular media outlets in the country, which also has a major newspapers chain. The group accused Milenio TV of siding with the vigilante groups that were trying to wipe out the Mexican cartels, saying, "I am not against freedom of expression, but I am against whoever attacks me directly because they are receiving free money from the self-defense groups." The groups he was referring to are part of a new wave of vigilantes, dedicated to cleansing the nation by eliminating all criminal organizations. These vigilantes are usually armed with military-grade weapons, and they also employ military tactics in their operations and raids. Since their emergence, these diverse vigilante groups have posed a major threat to the booming drug business in Mexico. However, some of these cartels have accused the vigilantes of dealing drugs themselves, while masquerading as the people's savior. In the viral threat video, the masked man then called out journalist Azua Uresti for what he described as biased and unbalanced journalism. He claimed that Uresti was intentionally slandering the cartel on her live TV show by bringing on members of these vigilante groups to her show and airing their views to all of Mexico. They believed she was trying to paint them as evil warlords who wanted to see Mexico burn, and the cartel had these words for her: "But you, Azua Uresti, one thing I let you know, don't be an idiot and chill out, because I assure you that if you don't chill out and you keep attacking me, I assure you that wherever you are, I will come for you, and I will make you eat your words, even if I am accused of femicide." The press was never able to verify whether it was El Mencho himself speaking in the video or a representative, but the message was very clear. As soon as the video went out, the whole internet erupted in chaos. Threats from a group as violent as the CJNG were not to be taken lightly, especially when directed at a journalist. It's not a secret that Mexico is one of the most dangerous places to be a journalist. As a matter of fact, over 250 journalists have been brutally murdered within the past 2 decades, which would make you wonder why Uresti decided to stick to such a deadly career. While death threats from cartels wasn't a new thing in the journalism space, having a gang leader record a video calling you out wasn't exactly what anyone would wish for. In a shocking turn of events, though, Uresti still hosted her show on that very day, and she even briefly addressed the threats against her, assuring everyone that she would not be bullied into silence. But even though a lot of people saluted her courage for not backing down in the face of oppression, everyone was scared for her. However, due to her popularity, She also had a couple of powerful people by her side, one of whom was the President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, who released a statement condemning the threats. In his address, the president said the Mexican government would take appropriate measures to protect Uresti and other journalists who are being threatened within Mexico. Uresti was also instantly placed under a federal protection program, and she continued hosting her nightly shows. Despite the risk of death, the journalist never stopped her coverage of the horrific events that ravaged the area of Tierra Caliente in Mexico, exposing the brutality being perpetuated by the cartel. Thankfully, the threat was never acted upon, and Uresti continues to speak out against the impunity going on in the country. Fast forward to January 20, 2024, and the journalist said her final goodbye to the television show that almost cost her her life. While announcing her departure from Milenio Television Network, Uresti thanked the president of the Grupo Formula Board of Directors, Jaime Azcárraga, for his support during the trying times. However, viewers noticed the feeling of apprehension that seemed to surround the video as a whole. Perhaps the threats from years ago are still lingering in the air. No one really knows. Luckily for her, though, her story doesn't end like most of the other people on this list, who messed with the wrong cartels and paid for it with their lives. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.